Hi, Alison Marsden here from Gardening by Design with a video tip, this one about amphibians that you might find in your garden. March is an absolutely typical time to see frogs and frog spawn in garden ponds, so I thought it a good moment to speak about both these and the other amphibians that we might find in our garden. Common frogs are widespread and will turn up in a garden even if you don't have a pond. Like all adult amphibians, they spend time out of the water, but frogs have a moist skin. They need damp places so that they don't dry out and will often be found under undergrowth, but they do also spend quite a lot of time in the pond for the water. They are the gardener's friend, consuming slugs as well as other small invertebrates, and of course as part of the food chain they will be eaten by birds. Frogs will spawn in any still water, a pond, a permanent pond, even water-filled tyre ruts in a field. They will have a go at producing frog spawn. Common toads are less common than frogs, much less widespread, and numbers have declined very sharply over the last few years. This is a cause for concern. They look, of course, ostensibly similar, but if you look closely, the skin is much drier. They live primarily as adults out of the water, just heading for very particular ponds to breed. They won't do the trick of frogs in going for any pond or appearing in a garden to breed in a new garden pond. They seem to be quite specialised, hence toad patrols for helping toads cross the roads in spring just to get back to breeding ponds, and that's an important activity to support their numbers. They also eat slugs, worms, invertebrates, and are very good in the garden. The final group of amphibians are newts. If you find something that looks like a rather dull lizard underneath a rock or in a damp place, it's almost certainly a smooth newt, as shown in the picture here. These up to about 10 centimetres long, and palmate newts much less common but a similar size. Great crested newts are the ones that people get very excited about. They are much rarer, but you absolutely cannot mistake them in a garden pond. They are literally twice the size, anything up to 17 centimetres, and it's much more the size that will tell you if you've got great crested newts than the crest or the colouring, which some of the other newts do develop during the breeding season. Once again, in ponds to breed in the spring, and lurking in damp shady places the rest of the time. So back to our big clump of frog spawn. If you look closely into frog spawn, you can see the little black embryos about to develop into tadpoles. Of course, if all of these eggs hatched into tadpoles and all the tadpoles made it through the summer, we would be knee-deep in frogs. So that really doesn't happen. Quite a lot of it is sterile. The frog spawn is eaten by newts, fish, dragonfly larvae, other water beetles, birds and grass snakes in the garden. So they really are an integral part of the food chain, providing food as well as eating other creatures. I can confidently identify this blob as frog spawn, although I'm not an amphibian expert, because toads lay very similar eggs but in long strings, almost like strings of pearls, under the water and wrapped around the stems, and newts lay individual eggs, usually folded over in the leaf of a water plant for protection. Of course, one of the best things that we can do for wildlife in the garden, amphibians and other, is to have a pond if you have the space and if the garden is suitable. It's important to have cover around the edges so that creatures can creep in and out without being too exposed. And you can see here where there is a shallow beach area on one side where creatures can climb out. But if you don't have room for a pond, or it doesn't suit you to have a pond in your garden, you can still support these important and helpful and joyful creatures by providing those shady, cool, moist places where they can shelter all year round. A log pile, undisturbed, in a shady spot under a hedge is absolutely ideal. There's more information on my Gardening by Design website about how gardening supports well-being and how I can help you.